What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Trick 10s. We've got a brand new boat on today's episode. The customer is really cool. He dropped this boat off. He just purchased this thing straight from the dealership, straight to us. He wants us to do a full build on this. Now, he's got a decent budget for this. We're only going to do the metal work for him, and then we might come back and do something later on. But his metal work budget is pretty nice. So we're gonna hook this thing up right. The boat's brand new. It's a 24, it's a 1548 well built, my favorite boat. Obviously, the guy did his homework. He's got a good foundation to start building off of, and we're gonna make this thing look killer. It's the same size as the King Neptune boat. Only difference with this one is it's got this little bench seat in the middle here. It doesn't have a live well in it. Now I'm gonna turn this camera around. I'm gonna show you all this boat, give y'all a little bit of insight on what we plan to do with it. Y'all know how this works. Let's get right into it, guys. All right, so check it out. It's a brand new hull, man. I love these boats, and just seeing a brand new one, it's really sick, man. Even got the tag on there, look, 24. Pretty hyped about doing this project. I like starting out with new hulls, new trailers. It just makes everything so much easier. Now, the difference in this boat that I did notice right out the gate was this big bench seat. Now, I haven't really seen a well-built semi-V with the bench seat. I've seen a square nose before, but this throws a little bit of a wrench into the build, but it's okay. We're gonna get this thing straightened out. These ribs, obviously, you know, they're higher than the boat. They're gonna have to get cut down too. It does have this little stock compartment on front here, and I'm not really sold on this. I mean, you can order these boats with this extended deck and with hatches like this. The hatches are welded solid. There's no drain tube inside of here, and the lid itself is pretty thin. I mean, the corners of it are not even welded. And I see a lot of these that over time start bowing right here in the middle. There's no stiffener or anything up inside of here. You're just relying on that pan. And unfortunately, with the front deck extension, it's exactly where you're gonna be standing up here the entire time while you're out there on the front of the boat fishing. So I'm not sure we're gonna do that. We might have to move that around, get rid of that hatch up there or something. But the boat itself is awesome though, man. The whole front end on this thing is super aggressive, very strong. The way it's all constructed, it's got some reinforcement down here around the winch eye, which is cool. You don't have to worry about this thing. I mean, as long as you don't run it into something, this thing's gonna hold its integrity and its shape very well. Very strong welded hull. And it's also pretty lightweight. It's gonna be a cool build though. The customer has given us pretty much free reign to do what we want to with it. Now he just plans on using this boat for fun fishing. He's not a tournament fisherman, so he doesn't want a live well. He doesn't want any type of rod locker, and with that bench in there, that would be kind of difficult to put a rod locker in here anyways. So we pretty much have free reign to do with the boat as we please. Now he did drop off a trolling motor with it, and we're gonna mount that up on the bow. I'm probably gonna end up putting, you know, similar hatches on either side with some type of a seat base in here and a spot for his battery up underneath there, because he did tell me that he's got a battery that's gonna be going back here, and he's also got another battery that's gonna be going up here that's just for the trolling motor. Now the one up here is 24 volts, so we're probably gonna house that somewhere inside of this hatch. We're gonna deck this boat from the front deck back to where this bench stops, probably drop down his floor where it's already open, and then we'll continue with this deck on back to the transom and put some type of a hatch in there he can open up to get to his gas tank and stuff. It's a pretty cool opportunity because the customer has pretty much given us the ability to build it out the way we see best, and that's what we're gonna do for him. This is gonna be a pretty cool project, guys. Let's get right into it. All right, so we made some major modifications. You see we welded all of the ribs, cut them off shorter. That way they're down lower than these bench, and we'll be able to run everything streamlined in here. We did cut out the two big holes. We're gonna dig this foam out of here in just a minute, and then we'll see what's inside of there. Let's get back to work. Got that fresh foam. You gotta be careful though. Got shards like that in there. That's how they connect some of these lower level pieces up into this upper piece. So be careful when you're digging that foam out of there. Things will get you. Alright, so Austin was over here wrestling with this thing. It's tight quarters because we need an angle on this side of the bench and also on the interior side of the bench because we need something to catch our sheet for the floor in here and to catch our sheet for the floor that's going to go into his drop down space right here. Now it was a little bit difficult because this rib is so close on either side, it's hard to get in there and drill it, and obviously we got to shoot ribs through, but we got it. And now what he's going to do, he's going to go cut some sheets that are going to fit in here to finish off this floor, and that'll get this back bench figured out. Then we're going to start our framing. Now this bench in the center, it's not completely level. You see what I'm talking about with this bench seat in the center? It's got a gap in there. So it really throws a wrench into it because I want to keep everything streamlined, you know, back from this bench to the front deck. So what I'm going to have to do is alter this middle bench seat. Now it's welded in there solid across every floor rib and obviously on the sides and across here, and that gives it a lot of strength. More than likely there's probably a rib inside of there just like there was inside of this one, which I wish there wasn't one inside of here because that only allows this hatch to be like 11 inches deep, and I wanted to put a battery in there. It's gonna be kind of tight. This battery's about 9 inches tall. Then you got the little prong on top of that where the actual attachments go, so I may not be able to fit his battery in there, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But right now, we need to start framing this deck back. In order to do that, I'm gonna have to take the top of this bench off of here. We're gonna leave the face of it on here. That's basically gonna be where it dead ends at and comes back down to our floor. But we gotta take this whole top area out of here. So I'm gonna get a cut all the way across this, maybe just past this roll just a little bit into the flat right here. That way we can leave that vertical. I'll come back and attach an angle inside of there, and that angle will run up and attach into the angle that comes across the existing front bench, and then we can frame off of that with our tubing. But if I do that, I'm gonna have to cut this whole top out, and on this back side, I'm gonna have to drop this down at least an inch, probably 1.25 inches, because we're gonna frame this with the 3x1 tubes, and it's gonna sit with the 1-inch side going horizontally. So we got to get that back side out of there too. And we'll probably leave the back wall in there just because it's welded and it's structural, and then we'll incorporate the inside of this hatch into our storage inside of the deck. I'm thinking maybe one big storage hatch here, and maybe splitting this up into at least 2 different sections. One side could be for his electrical panel hatch, and the other side could be for big storage. We might even do 3 sections, kind of keep it symmetrical looking. I don't know. We'll figure that out in a minute. But while he's making those pieces, I'm gonna go ahead and lay this off and start cutting this whole damn bench seat out of here. Let's get back to work. right, so we got the entire front deck framed in. Now we did something a little different with this one. This front hatch was already cut out with this opening size. We're kind of limited, so we decided to keep that and run with it right down the center. That way all three of these hatches are the same size. These are big hatches. This is 30 inches on the drop in, and then this big one in the center is 24 by 30. We're gonna put this on gas pistons, and once we put the floor in here, might throw a divider in there. It's gonna be a gigantic tackle storage area. Now, right behind that, this is the existing bench. Same thing, 30-inch wide hatch, big hatch drop in here, electrical panel hatch, and then right there, we're gonna have another small hatch. That one's gonna run the full length down. We're gonna have a wall right there. Now on this side, we kind of did a mirror image with this hatch up in here, but we ran it the entire length. I think it's gonna be kind of cool. It's basically gonna be like a little day box slash soft plastic storage. We're gonna make this box about 6 inches deep, maybe 7. We gotta see how much room we got, but this hatch is gonna open up to the side, and it's just gonna have a pan in here. And that way you can put bags of soft plastics and stack them up in here, or we can put a divider in there. He can split it up however he wants to. Kind of the thought process that went into it though. It looks sick. It's gonna be real dope. Now that this whole framework is tacked up, Austin is gonna make all of the hatch frames for all these hatches. And you take this out, flip the frame over, weld the thing out solid. Then we'll put it back in here permanently, and we'll start framing from this existing bench back to the back bench, because we're gonna have side panels on either side, and then he's gonna have a good sized floor in here. Now, the reason we did this hatch like this is because even when it opens, he's still gonna have 3 inches right here. So that way he'll still have room to lay his rods down the side of the boat and open that up. Same thing on that side. The electrical panel is a little bit closer, but we're gonna bring this deck back with a nice catwalk area so he can lay rods on both the port and starboard side because he doesn't have a rod locker in here. It's turning out pretty sick. I'm gonna get Austin to weld all these hatch frames up, and I'm gonna pick up from where we left off very shortly. Let's get back to work.
Believe me, one more. Believe me, believe me, one more. Believe me.
All right, so you can see we just got the hole cut. This is for his recessed foot pedal tray. And when we cut through the ribs in here, this top deck is spongy. So we added these angles on either side. And the way I did that is pretty simple. We shot a rivet up through the bottom. You can see it right there. And that's how I held this piece up here. And then I got Austin to come back and lay some welds on here. Now, if you can't weld, you can still do this. You can rivet this from the bottom. Just put 2 or 3 rivets in here on each one. And that stiffened this thing up immensely. You can also come back and put another little angle tab here, rivet it into this bench to keep it from sagging. And I also got another one reached up inside of here into this front one. So that makes this thing strong. You can come back and run a rib from here down to the floor rib, like a kickstand. We didn't have to do that with this one because this thing's pretty heavy duty. But you can look inside there, you can see they just used whatever they had laying around to fill this boat up. And it seems like it's pretty strong. They just used some diamond plate, extra stuff they got laying around. Now that this is done, Austin's been busy. He pretty much built all the hatches that we got for the entire rig, and he welded out the frame for this whole front deck solid. So we're gonna get this front deck frame in here. We gotta put a floor inside of this compartment. I'm probably gonna use this piece of aluminum that was the top of this bench, drop down for the floor inside of there. And we also need a floor for back here. But we're trying to get this frame in here, get some of these hatches installed. Let's get back to work. All right, there it is, all wrapped up. Looks pretty sick. Just some metal work in this build. Now we're gonna take all these hatches out of here, take them to the powder coaters. Still got a couple things left to do, like attach some of these sheet pieces, but I wanna get these hatches out of here, and I wanted to show you what it looks like before we get the hatches out. Now, when we get them back from the powder coaters, we install them permanently. I'll probably do a quick little video on that to show you how they look. But this back transom hatch turned out pretty dope. We cut out this center section. Now, the way we made that was we went ahead and made the track frame as one piece, and then we came back and cut it after the fact. And as you can see, when you do that, it does pull. It's got tension on it. We can suck this back, put our rivets in here to hold it after it gets powder coated. But it looks really cool. Got lots of room inside of there. I think it turned out good. Right in front of that, we've got the bench seat, and it has two hatches inside of here. Now, these hatches ended up being 17 by 19, and we did put a floor in there. So it's got lots of room in there. Tons of tackle storage. Now, the way we did the floor in here was pretty simple. We just bent up both sides 90 degrees and then brought it down from these side panels. I wanted to bring these out a little bit farther because he doesn't have a rod locker, and I wanted to incorporate a cup holder into here, but I still wanted to give him enough room behind that cup holder where he can lay his rods in here because it's only a 15-foot boat. Now, we got the mirror image on port and starboard of that. Then in the center, we've got our big hatch. Now, this is a deep hatch. This was the original bench seat that was in here. So what we did was we actually dropped the lid that was the top of that bench all the way down. We shot rivets in between the ribs. So this is the deepest hatch he has in here. It runs all the way down to the bottom of the hull. And this is the pan for his 24-volt battery that's going to control his trolling motor. It's a big hatch. In front of that, we've got a really big hatch. And this is basically going to be his largest tackle storage compartment in the entire boat. This hatch is 24 by 30 inches. We do have gas pistons going onto these pieces right here, so it will be able to help out with the assist and the close, and it'll hold this thing open because it's a big hatch. But he's got lots of storage up inside of there. I am going to come back and put a divider wall right here to separate that hatch and this big hatch. That way you'll have small storage on that side over there. But I really like this hatch right here. This is pretty cool. I wanted to do something a little bit different with the build because they're all so similar. So this one, we ran this long skinny hatch on the side, and this actually has a shallow box inside of it. It's about 6 inches deep, and I think this is gonna be perfect for like his soft plastics, or if you wanted to go duck hunting, you can actually fit a shotgun in there. So it's a pretty cool hatch, and I like the way that thing turned out. It's small, yet I think it's still pretty big and will give you a lot of storage space inside of there. It's a dope little hatch. Then that brings us into our big front hatch. Now, this one was already in here. We just cut the hatch out and we put our own hatch in here because the one that was in here was suspect. This hatch is gonna be heavy duty. He's not gonna have to worry about this anymore. Definitely an upgrade though. He's got lots of room inside of there. And then we put the foot pedal tray in. Now, we did put some supports up underneath there to help support that. Got supports welded in there. Look how they did this boat, man. It's just got whatever they could find in there, diamond plate aluminum, just whatever they can put in there to finish the project. Trolling motor mount, welded, solid mount. Probably gonna drill the holes in here. I might not install that. I'm gonna ask him if he wants me to, because he's gonna need to paint all this stuff, and it's gonna be a lot harder to paint it once we get the motor installed. But the thing about doing this like this is that you need to do this. See that? I put a hole in there with a hole saw before I mounted this down, and that gives him access to pull wires from his foot pedal. You know, he can pull wires up here and get into this with his transducers and stuff like that in order to hook them up onto the trolling motor and run them underneath and drill a hole in that foot pedal tray, bring them right up through there. All your wires will be concealed and hidden up underneath the deck instead of exposed and in the way. Now, I do have a lot of foam left that I'm gonna pack back inside of this front deck. We did put foam underneath this floor and underneath these floor, all the floors actually, except for this one compartment right here. We shoved a bunch of foam underneath it. And this is his electrical panel hatch right here. This one has a removable tray inside of it. It's just sitting in there. I got to put some screws in there for that. And this is where he can put his switch panel, fuse block, stuff like that. Works out well. And everything will be nice, neat, and tidy. It's a sick little build, man. I wish that we were going to be able to finish this thing up and turf it. But it's still going to be cool once we get all these hatches powder coated and permanently installed. I am going to come back and put a seat post base right here in the center of this and some extra supports underneath that. But other than that, man, it's a wrap. This build turned out sick. I think the guy's gonna love it. I mean, he really gave us the free reign to do whatever we wanted to with it. So that's when the magic happens, guys. And this is one unique rig right here. It's a badass boat. All right, guys, it's a wrap. Another project got finished up. Now we got to get this thing powder coated. I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like once we get all the hatches installed in here permanently. But I'm happy with the way it's turned out. The layout is dope. Austin crushed this thing, man. We are just rolling. If you guys want to get any work done, hit us up. Send me an email at professionalwelding@gmail.com. You want some merch? Go check that out on trick10s.net. If you guys are interested in any of my products, you can find that on trick10sjohnboats.com. I do appreciate you guys watching and hanging out with us today. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button, leave a comment, let me know what you think about the build. Let's get back to work.